NordVPN is becoming more than just a VPN. Threat protection will guard your device against malicious websites, malware, trackers, and intrusive ads, even if you're not connected to a VPN server at the time. Step up your cybersecurity and stay safe.
Businesses need a platform that allows people to access and manage their office workstation from anywhere and anytime. WebConnect does just that. Our browser-based desktop platform enables you to seamlessly migrate your office into a private cloud, giving you total control of your desktop, files, and important data. It's encrypted end-to-end connection, making it totally secure and ensuring peace of mind for users and administrators alike. Put WebConnect to the test and transform the way you work remotely.
Hi everybody, this is Crypto Rich. You are about to watch one of a series of videos that I recorded with Laura and Nina. Now with Laura, I did a 2-hour conversation, which is on her channel, and I shall link to that in the description below. The video that you're about to watch is a portion of that conversation, so I'm breaking it up into several portions. And in each of these segments, I cover different issues. We talk about what I do as a child protection social worker. We talk about home education. We talk about how what I call pedo sweets are still being sold in the children's sweet sections of British supermarkets. We talk about what Bitcoin is and some of the basics of Bitcoin and money. And we talk about why I think the Great Reset is failing. And if you like this section, or if you know anybody who might find it useful, please pass it on to them. One of the ways we can get past the censorship that's going on is by sharing amongst ourselves. Please leave comments, likes, follow me on Twitter, CryptoRichYT, and join my official Telegram announcements channel. Enjoy.
So we'll move on from that one, because I want to, about your job though, how do you, what's it like on the other side? How is your job? It must be quite difficult.
You know, it is, and I suppose I really love it. I absolutely really love it. I'm really satisfied and settled in what I do. You know, I do the rough end. I'm on the front line. I'm out there visiting families. I get the referrals. I check it out, and I look at, okay, do we need to put them on a child protection plan? And if need be, I will remove children. And sometimes that process takes ages as I gather evidence to go to court and prove to the judge and get the judge on my side. And other times, you know, I have, in one instance, asked the police to come and remove the children straight away because the place was so unsafe, and the police agreed with me. And in that instance, the kids went to stay with their grandmother. We always try and keep children within the family. There's other areas of social work, like working with children with learning disabilities, or adults or with disabilities, or elderly, or fostering, or looked after children. I can't be doing that. It's not me.
No,
not me.
No, I don't. But you make a good difference to these children. So that's the important part. And it is a very difficult sort of job, isn't it? To
Thank you. It is, Laura. Forgive me for interrupting you again, right? Because
that's fine.
It fits my personality, or how I am, or whatever, and also my commitment. I'm working to protect the most distressed, disadvantaged demographic of all. Children from chaotic, distressed, abusive households. Children, They don't have any economic power. They don't have any political power. They have no voice. And they're with parents who, for whatever reason, because of their own tragedies usually, aren't able to care for these children as these children need to be cared for. So for me, it's consistent with, I suppose, what shapes my politics. I'm up for a world where human beings honor human beings, where children honor their parents and parents honor their children, and I honor you and you honor me, and this one honors that one. A world where our relationships are bound by honoring each other. So it's an expression of that for me.
I like that. I do. It's a sad existence that a lot of these families, through no fault of their own, are destroying their next generation. Do you provide any help for the families to better themselves?
Yeah, always. Wherever possible, we try and work with the parents. I mean, the law says that the 1989 Children's Act is one of the best pieces of legislation, not just in children welfare, but in any sector of law throughout the world. It's an incredible piece of legislation, despite how the mainstream media, the Daily Mail and others, talk about social workers and what happened. They removed my kids, and I can say something about that in a moment. But we try and keep the children with their parents. So, one of the most common things that I deal with is domestic abuse, which is usually where the father beats up on the mother. Great with the kids, but beats up on the mother. And the mother might say, well, he only ever does it when the kids are asleep. Well, no, that still messes up the kids. Beating up on the mother, sometimes the father, is as harmful as directly abusing the child. And people don't get that. Even when the kids are asleep, the brain picks it all up. It messes up their growth, their hormones, their brain development, everything. And they grow up to be kids who are like directly abuse themselves. And the girls often grow up to become women who are abused. And the boys grow up to become men who abuse. Not necessarily, but, it's just their patterns that they've learned. Then we'll offer the men a course in honoring women. No, when you get pissed off, you don't thump them. You let them have a job. You let them have their own finances. You don't try and control them and be so jealous and all of that, right? And for the women, don't put up with a guy who's not going to honor you. Deserve better. And these are the signs to look out for. And one sign for any women watching or whatever, right? You go out on a date, you meet a guy, and if very early on in the relationship, he says something like, "Oh no, I don't believe in hitting women." Why would you say that? Why would anybody say that? Like, do you know, Laura, I don't believe in pulling the wings off flies. Oh, great, Rich. Thanks for telling me that.
Yeah. It's sort of a giveaway that there could be a problem. Yeah.
And then they move in very, very quickly. Like, you're the one for me, blah, blah, blah. You're the one for me. Let's be together. And then they isolate the women from the rest of the family. They want to move together, get them pregnant. That's it. Owned. Watch out.
So there's a lot of...
Sorry, Laura, a plug, right? Women's Aid. Women's Aid do incredible work. So if anybody watching this is in that sort of situation or knows somebody who is, call Women's Aid. Free phone number. Incredible work. Shout out to them.
Excellent. Yeah, I mean, I was volunteering for a company called called Satida, which work with domestic abuse women. But at the moment, social services all across the board has got a very bad reputation. So there are genuine people, I believe, like yourself, that are doing a good job. But there's a real stigma around social services that they just want to take children away from the parents. They're very quick to do that. So what would you say on that?
Well, my counter to that is you only ever hear one side. See, if a local authority, if social workers in a particular local authority remove a child from a family, and then those parents have the child removed, they go to the press and they say this, they give their version of events. The local authority is never going to give its own version of events. It's just not.
Right.
Because they've got to protect that child's confidentiality. They just don't. So all people ever hear is one side. I know from where I have sufficient evidence that I'm like, oh my God. I'll give you an example. Get a referral from a GP. GP gets called to this house. In this house is a 21-year-old, the mother, a 15-year-old and a 14-year-old. The 21-year-old is in college. The 15-year-old and the 14-year-old were barricaded in a room. And they weren't in school. Mum said she was home educating them. And then, so the GP passes it on to social services, and I'm the social worker, and I go and visit the mum. I go to the house, and I'm really straight with people about their rights. And so, look, and she refuses to let me in. Fine. She doesn't have to let me in. I have no right to go in, right? But I keep going. And then one of the things she brings the children to the door. I see them at the door, and there is something odd. There is something not right. I can't articulate it. I don't know what it is, but I have this uneasy feeling. Something is really off here. They're clean, well presented. But I didn't have evidence to remove them. I can't just go in there. I can call the police, and the police look at them and say, well, there's nothing going on. So I have to gather the evidence. It's not that easy. And then what happens is we get the boy into college. I mean, the 14-year-old and the 15-year-old didn't know how to cross the road. They didn't know where the library was. I asked the mum one day, I said, look, at the doorstep, because she's still not letting me in, show me some books. Show me some books they're reading. I don't care. The Bible, the Atlas, encyclopedia, show me a book. The 15-year-old brought down a Mr. Gunn book, a book that I read to my son when he was 6. Okay, this 15-year-old is not getting what he needs to be a fully functioning, healthy, wholesome 15-year-old. Now, the mum had mental health problems, and we get the boy into college, but then mental health problems are obvious. She's managed to contain everything. And then one day the boy calls me from a mobile phone. We got him a mobile phone. He calls me and he says, I want to get out. So then he's 15. I check with my manager and I start meeting with him. He's old enough for me to meet with him on his own at college. and I
Mhm.
start getting more information. I then have a meeting with my manager and the legal department of the council, and we say, okay, we're going to go ahead with this. I let the mother know that we're going to court to get a court order to remove her children.
Mm.
She gets legal aid.
Right.
Because she's not working. She gets legal aid. She gets a solicitor to fight her corner, as she should have, in case I'm making a mistake, right, or
Yep.
overstepping my powers. So there's the local authority, and me saying I've got all this evidence, all this evidence, all this evidence. There's her with her solicitor saying no, I refute this. It gets submitted to court. And then the court also enlists an independent social worker from the Department of Justice, not connected to the local authority, not connected to me, not connected to the parents. And they give a third, they look at the stuff that I've got, they look at the stuff that the mother has got. So you now got three parties, three different perspectives, all presenting their evidence. And then it goes to court. And sometimes the judge can say, okay, I want this information, I want that information, this is missing, do a parenting assessment, do drug and alcohol tests, mum's mental health assessment, all this stuff, right? And then if successful, and I was in this instance, I got a court order to remove children. That's what it takes. It's not like I can just go in and snatch them. Well, I can if there's imminent risk.
Yeah.
But even then, I can only remove them for a short period, and I have to go to court, and the parents get a solicitor, and then the guardian, the independent social worker, also comes in, and there's this process. Parents get their day in court.
It's heartbreaking, isn't it?
It is heartbreaking. I hate removing children. I don't like doing
But sometimes it does have to be done,
It needs to
obviously.
be done. It needs to be done. There was one where I did it is like straight away. I get a phone call from a father on from a head teacher on a Thursday afternoon. He says to me, "There's two boys. I think they were 6 and 8 years old. They come to school one day out of three. It's been like this for the year. When they come in, they're grubby. They're hungry. We've phoned the mum. We've written letters to the mum. We've been round to the mum's house. We get no response. Right? I'm really, really worried about them." I said, "Okay, are they in school today?" He said, "No." I said, "Well, look, I'll call you at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning." So this Friday morning, I call the school at 9 o'clock. I said, "Are the boys in?" The head teacher says, "No." I said, "All right, I'm going to go around to where they live." And it was in a block of flats. And I had a newly qualified social worker, her first week in the job. Oh, this was a baptism by fire for this newly qualified social worker. So I think their flat was on the second floor and stuff, right? And we can't get past. There's a door that leads to the balcony that leads to a front door, so can't get in, can't get past that. She's not answering the door, she's not answering the phone. So then I call the police, and I asked the police to come and do a welfare check. The police turn up, they manage to get a ladder from some builders nearby. The police go up the balcony and they knock on the front door, and the mum opens the door. And then also the police let me through and my colleague through, and we're talking to the mum. And what I can see through the doorway is she's barefoot and there's liquid on the floor, and the hallway looks really, really dirty. And she brings the kids to the door, and they look grubby. And we find out, she's got her grandmother lives a couple of miles away. She's got a couple of sisters living a couple of miles away. And then we say to her that we have to go in and see the flat. We have to go in because the little bit we can see is filthy. And what I find, they've got a dog, a Staffordshire or Bull Terrier or something. And what I find out later, that dog hadn't left the flat for a year.
Oh.
And then I go into the kitchen. There's just household detritus and rubbish all over the kitchen floor. I find out later the kitchen hadn't been cleaned for a year. There's the washing machine door won't open. There's piles of clothing. It's just in a filthy state. The lounge is the same. Then the fridge freezer in the lounge is big and it's full of fresh food, which I find really odd. I go into the mum's bedroom, and I'll explain that. I go into the mum's bedroom, and the two kids were in there. This is the room that they use. It's fairly tidy. It smells of pee and sweat. Mum was on Facebook doing stuff, right, chatting to mates or whatever. And then there's this other room, and the door's locked. The door won't open. The mum says, the door doesn't work. We can't go in there. And I said, we can't leave it. We can't leave it. We have to know what's behind the door. So I asked the police to break the door down. They break the door down, and it was the kids' bedroom, and there was nothing. It was tidy because they hadn't used it for months because the door had broken and the lock had broken. They couldn't open it. And then the mum says, "I hope you're not taking my kids." And I say to her, "They're not staying here. They're not staying here. So we're going to take them to. We can take them to your aunts or their grandmothers, but they're not staying here." So we call her grandmother. We call the kid's grandmother. We call the aunt. They say they'll come over. I walk across and take the boys to school, which is about 5 minutes walk away. I hand them over to the head teacher and I say, okay, they haven't eaten. Give them some food. And then, take care of them. And the grandmother will come and pick them up at the end of the school day. Head teacher goes and do that. I go back to the flat, and the mum and the grandmother have turned up, and the 2 police officers are there, and my colleague is there, the newly qualified social worker, and they've left the flat, and they've left the mum in the flat, and they're outside. And I said, what are you doing? What's going on? And they said, well, we've got the boys. They're safe. They're going to go with grandmother. This is the grandmother. I said, we're not. No. We've got to go in. We've just taken this mum's kids. We've got to check that she's okay. So then I asked the police to break in again. They break in again, and we find the mum. She'd swallowed some tablets. She was
Oh my goodness.
on the bed, comatose. And then, okay, so I called an ambulance and wait for the ambulance. They take the mum to the hospital. She's in hospital for a couple of weeks. The police take the dog to Battersea Dogs Home. And then after school, me and my colleague go to the grandmother's flat to make sure that the kids are going to be okay there. We've got to check that place out. And it looks fine. And I speak to the aunts and they seem fine. And what it was, this mum was just depressed. And the grandmother would, reach out to her. She wouldn't respond to her own mother's calls or anything. And the grandmother would leave food outside the flat and then go away. That's how come there was fresh food in the fridge and in the freezer. And they just didn't know that, for whatever reason, she didn't contact social services. And my poor colleague at the end of the day, he's like, oh my God.
Oh God, yeah. So did she eventually then get the help she needed?
Yeah. So she got the mental health support. We got in touch with the dad. The aunts came and cleared up the flat and everything. And I think eventually the boys stayed with their grandmother. We always try and keep children with their families. And the boys went back. They stayed with their families.
Yeah.
Which is the best thing for them. If anything ever happened to me, or my wife or my kids were younger or whatever, I'd want them to go to my wife's sister or my brother.
Yeah.
Social services will, if there's no family in the UK, they will go and place children with family abroad, if need be. Much, much rather that.
That's good.
Yeah.
Let's move away from this topic because in a minute I'm going to be in tears.
Nora, it is a labour of love. I made a difference to in those instances. I made a difference to both those kids. Both.
Yeah.
I really.
And you helped the mum get back on her feet and maybe and got her the help she needed.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's truly heartbreaking, isn't it? The amount of people that are suffering in their lives, I had to go to the food bank to help someone last month, and they said that it was July. I can't remember, the 2 months, June and July, were the 2 worst months. Like, they had literally the worst months ever on record. So there's a lot of suffering.
And it's going to increase because the government, the WEF-owned government, are out to impoverish us all, so that we own.
And look at the prices of things. I was just saying that today. I'm struggling with the prices of food and everything's just crazy. But then, you've homeschooled your children, though, haven't you?
My 16-year-old and my 19-year-old have never been to school. They've been home educated, and the philosophy that we followed is unschooling, which is they just played. They just played and played and played and played. And as they got older, they asked for, or we offered them, formal instruction. They said, sure.